I'm not going to lie about it. I haven't actually sat down with an Amish person and discussed this topic and kind of bored into what their actual beliefs are. My knowledge on the subject consists of maybe a couple books, Wikipedia, and primarily a guy that I used to work with that was raised Mennonite. And Mennonites are like a branch off of the Amish. And apparently they like to drive. I don't know. His contention was that the Amish believe that man will revert back to the horse. That for all of somewhat modern history, man relied on the horse, and that's largely true. And they believe that they will revert back to the horse, and that's probably also true, truth be told. Very devout, the Amish are, very religious, really set apart from modern day society. And it's interesting how they're viewed. They're kind of viewed as like this novelty or this weird sect cult, as the word cult is thrown around. And I don't know, maybe in a certain way, certain things are kind of cultish. I kind of respect anybody that's set themselves apart from modern day society, but it is interesting to see how they're viewed. The trouble with that is, have you been in modern society lately and taken a look around and seen some of the stuff that's going on? Who's the novelty here? Like I said, I really admire a lot of the Amish ways. You have a devoutly spiritual, godly people. They really dedicate their whole lives, and they're living it out. They're not like your modern day Christian, where they go and they church it up come a Sunday morning, which oddly enough is not the Sabbath. Any calendar will tell you that. But anyhow, they church it up, and they, oh yeah, hey brother, and we're dressed up like it's a little costume, and the second we get out of there, we go gorge ourselves at some all-you-can-eat buffet. Never mind the gluttony aspect, one of the 7 deadly sins. And never mind that you're expecting others to break the Sabbath, to work, to feed you, when you could have been eating at home. Never mind all that. These people, the Amish, they're actually living out their faith. Now, it's an interesting phenomenon to watch and to look at. And it's especially interesting to me to see kind of the loosening up. There's different variations within the Amish church. Some of them more, for lack of a better term, strict with the founding of the religion. And, we don't do any technology because of its detrimental effects on society. And that's true. And the detrimental effects, moreover, on your faith, because you start to worship things that are not godly. Whether that be electronics or social media or consumerist goods, my new sports car and my new laptop and my new phone and my new clothes and shoes. All these things are a sidetrack, and every one of them, if not viewed properly, will take you away from your true focus on God. But it is interesting to me to see that certain sects have really loosened up. You can have a gasoline generator, and that gasoline generator can power your washing machine. Why not just hook up to the grid? I mean, plug the dang machine in and run it. But no, you're going to go buy gasoline and run it on a modern convenience to run a modern convenience, which is your washing machine, so you can wash your clothes. You don't have to do it by hand. I don't fault anybody for washing their clothes with a machine. I'm as lazy as the next man when it comes to arbitrary household chores. And one of the first things I did when I bought this house, get a dang dishwasher put in. I mean, I put it in, but what a time saver. I don't worship it. I don't bow down and, But I might if it went out. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just saying. But they'll run gasoline generators to power the sawmill, to crank out the board feet of lumber that they're selling to make a product that the so-called English, as they refer to basically the rest of society, in America anyway, will buy. I remember running into some Amish up around Kansas City. I was traveling, stopped in the store to get some possibles, and outside there's some Amish, and they're on this big gooseneck, which is a flatbed trailer. And you'd have to have diesel to pull this trailer. I mean, this ain't rinky-dink here. This like the stuff you'd use to pull like a bulldozer type thing. And they got all these baked goods and quilts and stuff. And I stopped. I bought some cookies. And man, that Amish food's where it's at, because they're actually making the stuff. This ain't the China Mart crap off the shelf. They're hand making it with ingredients as food should be made. So heck yeah, I bought some, absolutely. And I wasn't being nasty, I wasn't being judgmental or anything. And one of the women, and she's got the bonnet on, and it just struck me as odd. And so I asked her, I was like, ma'am, if you don't mind me asking, how'd you get the trailer here? And boy, she acted as if I had just slapped her right in the face. And she turned around and walked off. Dang English, bunch of sinners. I don't know what her thought was, but that's the vibe I got from it. The loosening of these rules. Now it's okay to have some of these luxuries. They're starting to pattern their houses after the so-called English, the rest of us sinners. Some of them, not all of them. Some of the more, for lack of a better term, strict sects of the sects, S-E-C-T-S, of the Amish faith had a really neat plan, I thought. And that's, somebody originally built the original house. The couple got married. They inhabited the house. They had kids. And when the original couple got old enough, they built another house on property they already owned, probably a farm, behind the original farmhouse. And it was smaller. It was easier to upkeep because they're getting older. They're getting advanced in age. And their children, usually a son, inherited the main farmhouse because he had a family to raise now. So you're starting out your life with a paid-for house on paid-for properties owned by the family. And if there was a third generation that came along, they built another house, yet even smaller, because now you're even more elderly. You got to upkeep this stuff. You got to maintain it. You don't want some big old farmhouse that every room has to be cleaned and dusted and heated. And I guess there ain't a whole lot of cooling going on. One of my major problems with the Amish faith, because I'm a sissy when it comes to Ozark heat, I want my air conditioning. Point being, so now a third smaller house, and they moved into it. And that generation that was in the big farmhouse moved into the secondary house, and their children, once again, starting off with paid-for property. Imagine the money you'd have with no vehicle costs, no tires, no oil, no maintenance, no gasoline, no insurance. That stuff adds up. And make no mistake, most of the Amish have money, and they have a lot of it. Now, that's not just all, well, yeah, if I was given a free house, yeah, that's a huge part of it, don't get me wrong. But they're not living the ways of the English. They don't worship material goods and just got to go out and buy the new $1,500 iPhone that does virtually the same thing as the model before it, or the latest, fanciest, greatest sports car, designer clothes. They don't do any of that stuff. So that money, which is earned, these are primarily, almost all of these are blue-collar jobs. Farming, carpentry, what else they do? There's a business structure inside the Amish communities to keep the Amish going. You might sell baskets, you might sell wagons or wagon parts or whatever. Somebody's got to build this stuff. They ain't building it in China, there ain't a big enough market for it. So the Amish build it in-house, and that makes its own little economy. Another thing that kind of struck me was they claim that things like insurance, you're burdening your brother. Am I my brother's keeper? And it's like, and it is kind of this Ponzi scheme where everybody pays in, and then if somebody has to draw out, there's plenty of money for that. And they look at that as burdening your brother. But now a lot of the Amish, because hospital costs have gotten so disastrously astronomical, they have an in-house thing in the Amish community where everybody pays in, and then if there's an emergency or something, well, then it's paid out of that fund. It's the same thing. That's no different. The separation between your everyday modern so-called English society and the Amish society, they're starting to blend a little bit. Starting to get a little more lax. A lot of things are interesting to me about the Amish. Their response to the COVID ordeal, what did the Amish do? Nothing. They kept going to work. And COVID ravaged some of the Amish communities. And they got sick. And a couple of them died. Got so bad. But they got sick and they got over it and they built up a better immune system. And they went on about their lives. Nothing was shut down. Because in the Amish community, every job is essential. There isn't any of this make work crap. Every job is essential. Then you have this other deal, I think it's called Rumspringa, maybe, something similar to that. And that's basically the kid turns, whatever, 17, 18, 19. And they have the option, if they want, to go on this like sabbatical for a year and go live amongst the English. And they get to choose, and they get to experience that, because these people are, a lot of them are really sheltered. They've been inside the community, and they have no experience. They've always heard about the sinful ways of the English, but they don't know. They've never lived it. So they're given this opportunity to go live amongst that which they've only heard about, which is fair, I think. A lot of them don't come back. They're out frickin' getting tattoos and getting high and, it's party time. You hold the spring under enough tension for long enough, and then you take the restrictions off that spring, what do you think it's going to do? I mean, it just, it's crazy time. And a lot of them are like, are you kidding? I'm having time of my life. I ain't going back. These people got air conditioning and dishwashers. But a lot of them do come back. Now, also interesting, if you decide not to come back to the church, you are any attachment is completely severed with the community. The church is not allowed to communicate with these people, even your own immediate family. The family basically has to disown those who have chosen the way of the flesh, for lack of a better term. I don't quite understand that. And not everything is just hunky-dory. We get this idealized version of the Amish, and sitting on the porch in the fall evening, and the leaves are trickling down, and I've made this farm go with the sweat of my brow, and you don't see all the brutally hard work, and you don't see the inner operations of what they call the ordnung, which is the inner governing body of the church. And God help you, if you run afoul of that ordnung, you will soon find yourself completely shut out of most business dealings, and within a tight-knit community like that, you get shut out of that, and you're already in kind of ostracized or the odd man out when it comes to regular society. Where are you going to go? How are you going to make it? And it doesn't take much to run afoul of the ordinance, questioning, why do we do that? Why, earnest, trying to understand sometimes can get you a black mark, and you get enough black marks and you're out, buddy, and good luck to you. And the mustache thing is weird, and they did that because at the time of the very early church, a lot of the military leaders had mustaches only. I guess, as to why they keep it going, I don't know. And then I think you can shave if you're single, but once you're married, you got to grow out the beard. The color thing, it's like whites light blue, gray, very plain, very ordinary. And that kind of goes back to the, we don't worship our clothes. We wear them just because we're expected to wear clothes. They're not a status symbol. Nobody's trying to stand out here. We all got a job to do, and we do it. Also of interest is the Amish women, the young women. Probably the last we'll see of the feminine, able, petite females that can actually provide something of productive value and aren't yappy, loud, mouthy, tattooed up, and some of them incredibly attractive. However, if you're one of the English and you're a young man and you find one of them, your chances of getting with them are almost none, because they don't really accept the outside world. You can go and live amongst the Amish. They'll do business with you. They might help you out with knowledge or tasks or whatever, but you're never going to be accepted. And I don't think you can join the church and just become Amish. You're either in or you're out, and most of us are out. It's interesting stuff. Also interesting, lastly, they don't like their picture taken. They don't take pictures. They don't own cameras. They consider that a graven image spoken against in the Holy Scriptures. What's the first thing the outside world wants to do? Hey, an Amish guy. It's probably a little better now because they got the phones, and everybody's got a stupid phone in their hand, so they don't know that their picture's being taken. But a true Amish person isn't ever going to pose for a photograph. They don't like them. They don't participate in that. There are no family photo albums to look back on. It's in here, and it's in here. That's how they remember previous generations. Interesting stuff. If I forgot some, you can put them in the comments with the jazz hands. I do enjoy the comments. I always read them. I thank you for watching. I do appreciate your time, and I will see you next time.